And we're live.
All right,
and here we are.
Good, and here we are. Well, welcome everybody. It's Val and Roy. We're going to talk about mosaic nippers. You know, we sell like a few of them, so we thought we would just show you the ones that we carry and kind of talk about the different attributes of them. So kind of give you the perspective from someone that's never used a tool and whether you like it or don't like it, right? Yeah, so I guess we should clarify that a little bit, right? I mean, I know I often call them mosaic nippers, but sometimes people just simply call them glass nippers.
Or wheeled nippers.
Or wheeled nippers, right? So that's which is actually the common theme with all that we're going to show you here is that they all do have wheels, right? So, and we have about 3 different brands here on the table. Delphi does sell them all, and I'm sure Noah, if he's on fast, he could give you some links to where those are at. But and they all really work. I mean, I think they're all good quality tools, the ones that we're showing.
Right.
Yeah, this is a Diamond Tech tool. Studio Pro, right? So it's called the Jennifer's Mosaics Wheeled Glass Nippers. So I don't even use the word mosaics in there. This particular nipper, we use this in a lot of our mosaic classes or even our fusing classes. If you like, we'll get a chance to we'll show you a couple of fused pieces that were done with using the nipper. And we've used a bunch of them. And so there's, I'm going to show you a couple ways of kind of altering them to kind of fit, you know, what you're trying to do with them. They do, as Val is pointing out, when you do squeeze them, there is a certain amount of, there's a little gap between the 2 wheels. And it might be too wide of a gap depending on what you're doing. If you're using really thin glass, or I know in the fusing world when we're using the dichroic that Delphi sells tends to be really thin. You know, it's like done on thin glass. So what can happen is that when you squeeze it, you might not get the wheels coming together close enough to break the dichroic glass. So what you want to do is, the way they come in the package is like this, right? So you have to put the spring in. I'm going to show you guys how to do that so you can see what that's like. And they just, so there's these 2 little nubs on the inside here, and that springs just go right on top of that. What I've done before too, if you're having some problems with your spring jumping off all the time, I've actually taken a pair of pliers and pinched, once you get the spring on, if you pinch the spring right where it's on that nub, it'll kind of grip onto that nub better and less likely to fall off. The other nice thing, could be a nice thing about this tool is that the wheels are slightly loose, and I know sometimes this bothers people. And I can tell you what the manufacturer says is the reason the wheels are loose is that when every time you're using them and you're hitting, your point of contact changes as you go. So you're not always wearing the exact same spot on the wheel all the time, which makes a lot of sense to me, right? So the thinking is you got to almost always a fresh surface as you're nipping. But I do also know the negative side to that is sometimes there's too much movement in the wheel, and what can happen is they can start to loosen and they'll tip like this, and then you start getting some weird breaks. So it's this little kind of bolt that's in here gets loose, and you have to tighten it back up. So they'll get loose over time, and you just, you know, again, get an Allen wrench, you can tighten them back up. But one of the tricks that I have, if you don't like the wheel moving all the time and rolling, is I put a washer behind the wheel. This is a 1/4 inch washer, a flat washer, and I just put the washer right here where I took that wheel off. I put the wheel back on and then tighten it back up with the Allen wrench. What happens is now the wheel is locked in place and it doesn't move at all. It doesn't roll, it doesn't slide, it doesn't, you know, tip. It still can loosen up. That happens sometimes when you're using them a bunch, but by putting that washer, if you can see the back of it, how I put a washer on there, it tightens the wheel up so it doesn't move. So a lot of it, I think, just depends on how you want to work. So a really nice tool, relatively on the lower end of the expense, especially of the 4 that we're going to show you today. I think this one is the least expensive one.
They work well. I mean,
they work
we sell a ton of those, right?
Oh man, we sell a bunch. So then we have these other tools. These are made by a German company called Bohle. It's B-O-H-L-E. They make 2 different versions, and really, so they kind of make like a lower end priced one, and then a higher end one is what the German ones are. And same sort of thing. One of the nice things about the German ones is they are aluminum, so they're a little lighter in weight. So if you want to see what that one's like, right?
Oh, thanks.
That's called the Zag Junior. So the way this one works is instead of having a spring, you know, between the handles, it's actually a piece of metal up here that springs back open, so there's a little, you know, tension on there. Yeah, so what this is on the back, and you can remove this if you like, it's a way of stopping the glass. So like if you are, let's say you're nipping, right? You're nipping and then the glass will hit that and then fall down. So if you were like over a bucket or a bowl or something, you could nip, and then everything you do is going to fall straight down into
that's
the bowl.
kinda
Yeah, it's
cool.
actually a nice little feature, right? And this is the other bowl one. This one's a little step up in price, but it does have a couple other features to it that are nice. One is does have a spring here in the middle, so it just opens back up, so it just makes it a lot easier when you're squeezing it. You'll notice that it's a little narrower, like this one is too. They have narrower grips to them, which is just easier on your hand too if you're doing this for a long time. So again, this one also, the wheels are replaceable. The wheels are fixed, so you do have to mark them so you know where the point is that you're using them at. And then the last one is, this one's made by Creators. Much different configuration than the first three that I showed you. It's real light. It's most of it's plastic except for the wheels parts, right? And so it is much lighter in weight, and then you just hold it differently, which is a little bit, I think, friendlier on your wrist, right? So again, as I showed you on the table, there's some examples of traditional mosaics, right, where we glue something to a surface and then grout it. There's some that are more like fused, right? Like that one in front of Val is fused. Not everything on the table here was done with the nippers, but I can tell you that a large majority of almost everything. I know that piece that you have in front of you is almost all nippers, except for the green part there. This is a piece that I did using Vango Glass. If you're not familiar with that, it's this kind of painted glass that has like a visual texture to it, like glue chip, if you're familiar with glue chip. And so you can see this piece here was done, in fact, all this was done with nippers. And I cut everything into strips beforehand. And one of the advantages to that is just that it gives you at least one dimension that's kind of uniform in size, which brings kind of, I think, a continuity to the piece a bit. But I know it's a matter of taste and opinion about what that looks like. I mentioned it earlier too. I think really a lot of the tools we're showing you are really best designed for glass. You can do glass tiles with them, right? I mean, you could easily, all of these could cut glass tile, which I didn't think about bringing in. But I would stay away from ceramic. I find some of them aren't all that friendly on the ceramic. Well, I think we're probably coming back in a couple weeks, right? Is that the plan?
So
I
send
think, yep. So
suggestions if you have any.
yeah, if you have any
because
suggestions. Otherwise, Val and I got to come up with some.
That's right. We may have to do
It takes us
nippers again.
easily 2 weeks to figure it out. So, well, thanks for joining
Yeah,
us.
thanks.
We'll see you guys.
We'll see you next time.